framework and work with PNDC, that the country comes first and we come second. So God, family, country. That's how it worked. And all of that requires service commitment and real dedication, and not personal gratification and lining our pockets.
He likes what is just, and therefore when he sees injustice, will go at it with everything that he has. We're a bunch of people who believe in living by integrity and all that, and because he's somebody who believes in that, it has made us a happy family because we just seek to do what makes us happy, which is what is right.
He is, concerned that people shouldn't take the profession as a profession of a group of people who have no respect for the truth and who have no respect for justice. At the end of the day, whether we lose or we win, was justice said? For him, that's important. If justice was said, fine. So if he comes across as fighting hard, it's because he genuinely believes that justice was not said.
There's no doubt about Tsatsu being a principled person. Probably the most classic illustration of that is when President Kufuor tried to offer him a pardon, and he refused because he felt that his cause was just, that he was innocent, and that he would pursue his innocence through the courts of law, to the highest court, and he was confident that he would be exonerated because there was no basis for his incarceration in the first place. That takes a lot. It takes a lot of courage to say that I will not accept your pardon and make my circumstances easier, because it's a shortcut, it's a short route to perhaps comfort. And I think that's a remarkable testament about his courage, his fortitude, and his principled character.
Naturally, somebody who is like a servant leader, he doesn't project himself, and usually he doesn't want to hear people using some accolades to show that he's special. He wants people to understand him as somebody who is a product of the environment in which he grew up, and that other people made him what he is, particularly when he got so much committed to his faith in God. He sees everything as the handmaid of the Almighty God.
He seemed to think that, well, whilst you're going around, he's fine. He found space in prison to talk about God, to speak to people about their problems, because he was trained to do that. And he always said, God didn't send me to prison in vain, because when he was there, he managed to touch people with his skills and with his word.
What he himself says is that he recognizes that the talents he has are given him by God. So he's constantly going back to him to ask for reinforcement, to ask for wisdom. And that really defines what he does and who he is.
Tsatsu is exemplary as a thought leader who has humility, strength of character, and national purpose to inspire. And an important gift to all of us, as somebody who has, if you like, cut the path forward, a straight path, even though sometimes it's narrow and difficult, but he has been there. And he has supported all of us in many ways, diverse ways. And we appreciate him for that.
He has a philosophy of life, and he believes in that philosophy, and he treasures some values, and he goes by that. Principled, committed, and faithful patriot of our country. I bow my heart to him.
In 2026, we honor Tsatsu Tsikata, an exceptionally accomplished lawyer, public servant, and legal academic. Recognizing his commitment to public interest, his influence in shaping generations of legal minds, and his enduring impact on Ghana and beyond.
course, on another very light note, dear Father Tsatsu Tsikata, when you eventually get here on this stage to speak, cameramen, please be on standby to take the first set of photographs. That is the only thing I get to enjoy on a day like this, when many are trying to look for him and just congratulate him. So please do grant this for me, sir. Thank you very much. And the laughter, I guess, is a yes. Your Excellency, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I also would like to pay respects to Professor E.V.O. Dankwa. Shall we do a big round of applause for him? Professor E.V.O. Dankwa has a very big story to tell with the honoree. And while all of the celebratory messages were coming in, I also remembered another thing, that probably it's time for our friends in cinema and in film to start putting together something major on the life, the work, and the experiences of Mr. Tsatsu Tsikata. And of course, I already hear some applause. I've seen some seasoned former members of parliament here. And so as many as are in favor of seeing a movie or a film or a state production on Mr. Tsatsu Tsikata, say aye. Your Lordship, I think the ayes have it. This is a high point because it has a lot in terms of emotions and a lot in terms of gratitude to the Most High God. Next, we will be listening to a performance which will be jointly performed by his better half, Madam Esther Koba and Dr. John Azu. Shall we do a big round of applause and welcome them? Okay, so it means that will come up later on. It will come up later on. But ladies and gentlemen, at this time, I would like to welcome up here on the stage a fine gentleman who has now carried the mantle at the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation. I'm sure that he also has tons of words of gratitude to share at this time, purely because of the foundation that has been laid by our honoree. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome on the stage Mr. Kwame Ntoa Amwa, CEO of GNPC.
Your Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, His Lordship, Justice Paul Bafoboni, Chief Justice of the Republic of Ghana, the Vice Chancellor, UPSA, the Dean, UPSA Law School, the Chairman of the Council of State, Council of State Member, Mrs. Betty Modi Drisu, you did a fantastic job. Honoree, Mr. Tsatsu Tsikata, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I stand on all the protocols already established. So today, as we join the UPSA Law School to celebrate your lifetime achievements, we wish to highlight the noble contributions that you have made to Ghana as a whole and to the growth of the energy sector with the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation as the centerpiece. Tsatsu, or Mr. T, as we fondly refer to you, we are indeed proud of your selfless and visionary leadership as chairman and chief executive in the foundation years within which the corporation became an engine of national transformation. Under your tenure, GNPC worked to advance the search for oil and gas in uncharted territories. And I think in those days, today we have a lot of companies in Ghana. In those days, there were very few here, and I think we were producing just about, we had a history of producing just about 6,000 or so barrels a day. Under your vision, you worked hard to advance the search of oil and gas, and you opened up, if you like, the offshore basins to a lot of investments. And your vision and foresight even led to Ghana drilling the first horizontal well in the 70s in Ghana, in West Africa. You also led Ghana to secure drilling assets to facilitate independent offshore oil and gas exploration. And your ambition was to move Ghana toward energy sovereignty. I don't think a lot of people believed in that, but when we found oil in commercial quantities in 2007, 2008, we realized that Ghana did not have any assets to contribute because we had sold off all the assets, the drilling assets that we could have leveraged to have a more significant local participation in the oil and gas production. And your vision was very holistic in the way you saw the role that the midstream, downstream, finance, energy transportation and transmission, and efficient energy utilization, all of these played in ensuring a well-functioning upstream oil and gas business. And you saw also how linking markets and infrastructure across Africa will consolidate and sustain this vision. We particularly note your pioneering role in leveraging oil and gas conferences in Ghana. And I think the Nigerians at that time, were laughing at us. They were saying, Ghana, you don't have any oil, but you're always, bringing us together in Ghana for oil and gas conferences. But you saw that as a key platform that brought our neighbors and international oil and gas companies together. And you used that platform to convince them to establish the West Africa Gas Pipeline Project, which was a groundbreaking project and which had great promise in turning gas that was otherwise being wasted into energy with the potential for lighting homes and cities across Africa. And we are enjoying the benefits of that today. Gas today is fueling more than 70% of our power generation. Your era saw advancements in the establishment of several industries. And in this regard, we cannot fail to mention the leadership and foresight underpinning our investments in EcoBank. GNPC actually was a founder of EcoBank. And this is in response to the vision of linking everything together, because the oil industry needs, a lot of investments. And so banking for us was a critical plank in achieving those objectives. And EcoBank today has blazed the trail in indigenous West African finance and banking. He also supported the establishment of Temalub Oil Company, which provided lubricants, produced lubricants locally to feed the industry, the oil and gas industry. And what was even more important, you supported the production of clean cook gas stoves, which were designed by GNPC staff, fit for both domestic and commercial use, long before the energy transition, which, when we aimed at converting households to the use of gas to help avert increasing deforestation. And I think that this has been spoken about already, because perhaps your greatest legacy is in the building of the capacity of indigenous Ghanaians to lead on and operate complex energy systems and embedding technical capacity within the nation. The examples abound of remarkable men and women, engineers, geoscientists, administrators, and policymakers whose brilliance and sacrifices continue to support Ghana's growth and development. A few of the names come to mind. Guzitano, Presidential Advisor on the 24-hour economy. Tri Opoku, Larry Ajete, Nana Boachi Asafo-Adjei, Thomas Menu, who I see sitting in the audience, Theophilus Ashirin, Victor Sunuata, and Alex Mould, Auntie Betty, Alex Mould, Joseph Dazi, and yours truly. Your unrelenting commitment to manpower development is today also strengthening research and teaching in our universities and technical institutes and leadership in various energy institutions. Professor Abochi talked about the loss to academia, but I think the work that Tsatsu did in GNPC has now created more people like him who were giving back to the university to support the university development. Now, through all these, the solid foundation that you laid has enabled GNPC to grow and develop as a well-grounded national oil company with talented young men and women who are able to stand shoulder to shoulder with the best in the world. Thank you, Mr. T, for allowing us to celebrate your lifetime achievements today. Ayeko, for your immense impact on Ghana's development. I rest my case. Thank you.
We're grateful to the CEO of GNPC for adding his voice to the words of celebration. And now, Your Excellency, Your Lordship, Chairman of the Council of State, Lord Justices of the Superior and other courts of Ghana, the Busuapenying and executives and team from MOBA, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please permit me to refer to the words of the legendary Professor VCRAC Crabbe, who is a pioneering legislative council of the Republic of Ghana and a legal luminary. He, during his lifetime, was a seasoned and worthy Freemason. And one day, when he was being celebrated at a Masonic meeting, he responded to a toast with some very few words. And he said, and I quote, "In life, I did not come looking for money, but I came looking for greatness. When you live, make sure that you go in search of greatness." I believe that these words from the legendary Professor VCRAC Crabbe go to encompass the beautiful story that we're all celebrating today. And those words describe one man here, and that is the one and only Mr. Tsatsu Tsikata, whom I now, with respect, invite here to the stage. Mr. Tsatsu Tsikata, please do stand here in the center. Respectfully, would like to welcome Her Excellency the Vice President and the Chief Justice, together with the Dean of the UPSA Law School. Shall we welcome them with a big round of applause? At this point, I'll hand over to Professor Ernest Kofi Abochi, and he will read the special citation for this moment of honor.
Your Excellency, my Lord the Chief Justice, This is the climax, essentially, of today's program, and the UPSC Law School is honored to honor you. And so, therefore, with the permission of Her Excellency, the Vice President and the Chief Justice, I would read the citation for all to witness as follows. Citation for Lifetime Achievement in Law Award. The UPSC Law School presents this Lifetime Achievement Award to you, Mr. Tsatsu Tsikata, in recognition of your distinguished and enduring contribution to the life of the law, constitutional justice, and public service in Ghana. Over the course of 5 decades, your scholarship, advocacy, and institutional leadership have helped shape defining moments in Ghana's legal and constitutional development. Your work stands as a touchstone on the frontiers of Ghanaian jurisprudence, reflecting both your depth of intellectual rigor and an unwavering commitment to the public good. Through your exceptional brilliance in practice and academia, you have left an indelible imprint on legal thought in the Commonwealth of Ghanaian law. The formation of many protégés and mentors and deliberate inspiration of generations of lawyers, scholars, and public servants continue to extend your influence and define an era. This award extols the excellence of your remarkable career, but also the enduring legacy of your notable firsts. Your life's work demonstrates what becomes possible when vision is marked with courage, discipline, with fidelity to principle, and unwavering perseverance with faith. And so, therefore, in recognition of a lifetime devoted to teaching, advocacy, and service, the UPSC Law School is honored to present this award to you in the presence of erstwhile colleagues and friends and in witness of a lifetime of excellence presented this 15th day of April, 2026. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Please do take your seats. And now, Your Excellency, Your Lordship, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good people of Ghana, please permit me now to make way for a man of principle, a man with a heart, and a man of service, the one and only Mr. Tsatsu Tsikata.
Vice President, Chief Justice, Chairman of the Council of State, Vice Chancellor of the University, Dean of the Faculty of the School of Law, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I am rather overwhelmed by this great cloud of witnesses, particularly the presence of the Vice President of the Republic on this occasion. Kofi Abochi didn't forewarn me that the Vice President was actually going to be in attendance. Thank you, Vice President. For fitting this into your packed program and for your kind words. Your own distinguished academic career, as well as your sterling leadership of the University of Cape Coast are well known. You are forever a trailblazer. And now, as the first female to hold the office of Vice President, you are showing your exceptional leadership qualities, as well as your lifelong commitment to service of this nation. I believe the nation is grateful, and I am grateful for your presence here today. May I at this point also acknowledge 3 women, 2 who are participating in this event virtually. My mother, Mrs. Annie Tsikata. My aunt, Mrs. Georgina Apalu. And the third, my wife Esther, who is here in person. I owe special debts to these women, as will be evident shortly. I'm touched too that the Chief Justice is here. CJ has risen through the ranks to this highest level of office in the judiciary, humbly and patiently, maintaining a calm dignity throughout. Thank you, CJ, for your service to the nation. And thank you for your kind words today. The conferment of this Lifetime Achievement Award on me by the University of Professional Studies, Accra, is humbling. I'm grateful to this university, to you, the Vice Chancellor and Council, and to the School of Law, and particularly Dean Kofi Abochi, for doing me this honor. I want to thank especially Mrs. Betty Moldi-Drisu for her lecture today honoring me. There are important observations she has made about the affairs of our nation over the decades that should matter to us all. Betty has distinguished herself in her own career, including at the Commonwealth Secretariat, then becoming Attorney General, Minister of Education, and now on the Council of State. She carries all her laurels lightly and gives some credit to those of us who were her teachers in the past. She even relishes stories from the old days. Thank you, Betty. The subjects I taught from the early 70s at the then Faculty of Law, University of Ghana, Legon, were Ghana Legal System, an introductory course for first-year students, and jurisprudence, a course for third-year students, which became my signature course, as it were. Jurisprudence delved into legal theory. What is law? And it ranged over various answers to that question that theorists had put forward over the years. A book by Professor H.L.A. Hart, The Concept of Law, had been a basic textbook from my student days. There was a question posed in the analysis of Professor Hart, which has stayed with me. How do we distinguish a legal system from a gang of robbers? Is law any more than a gunman situation writ large? What is it that makes laws obligatory? We lawyers certainly do not see ourselves as robbers or gunmen. We are learned friends with Esquire added to our names. Judges are lordships and ladyships. And I'm really deeply moved to see many of your lordships and your ladyships here. Again, I honestly did not expect you, but thank you for being here for this occasion. I would like us in all seriousness to consider whether we contribute to the well-being of society in a way that should make clear to the world the difference between a legal order and robbers and gunmen. When I entered the Faculty of Law, Legon, in October 1966, I began an immersion into what constitutes the corpus of the law of Ghana. Those 3 years of intensive study were not just about sitting in classrooms or in the law library. They also involved personal interactions with the lecturers and also with colleague students. Let me take this opportunity to acknowledge the impact on me from those years of Professor G.K.A. Ofoswama. He taught me contract law in my first year, but his influence on my life and understanding of law went beyond the law of contract, as he opened up his wealth of legal knowledge, his home, including library, and his very humanity to me. He literally held me by the hand after I finished Legon and took me to Oxford University to begin my postgraduate studies in October '69. Thank you, K. Dr. Thomas Mensah, who taught me Ghana legal system in my first year and became acting dean of the faculty before he left to work with the International Maritime Organization in London, was also one of my teachers whose impact has been lifelong. Apart from the time in Legon, after I moved to London, I enjoyed my trips from Oxford to his home in Golders Green, where I basked in the family atmosphere that his wife, Akosua, particularly always ensured. Even as I sat at the feet of Dr. Mensah, I honored their memory on this occasion. I cannot fail to mention the role of Professor Alex Kwapong, Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana, Legon, in my legal education. In my third year at Legon, the dean of the faculty was Professor A.W.B. Simpson, who had come from Oxford University as part of a cooperation program that Professor Kwapong had established with the Faculty of Law in Oxford University. It was under that program that we had a memorable visit from the legendary Professor Cross, a blind professor whose authoritative work on the law of evidence, among others, remains to this day a standard reference. Under the program, students were to go from the law faculty, Legon, to do postgraduate studies in Oxford. I was the first beneficiary under that arrangement. And I went to Wadham College, where Peter Carter, with whom Professor Kwapong had signed the MOU, was my tutor, as was the distinguished international lawyer Ian Brownlee, who later also came to the Legon Law Faculty for a year. What better career and life shaping, precisely orchestrated, could a 19-year-old Strong Bay boy ask for than that? Professor Kwapong continued to keep a close watch on how I was doing, both as a student at Wadham and when I became a junior research fellow at Corpus Christi, till I returned to the Legon Law Faculty, initially for a term in October '73 and finally in October '74. Thereafter, till his passing, I had to make sure that he was satisfied that I was living up to all the investments he he got the University of Ghana to make in my education. There were other teachers of mine at the law faculty, to all of whom I'm indebted. S.O. Jando taught constitutional law in first year, while in second year, J.K. Ajiman taught the law of torts and Kofi Deanan commercial law. Dr. Obed Asamoah taught me international law in my third year. Even as I acknowledge the influence of my lecturers, there was one colleague student with whom I worked together, not just as a fellow law student, but also as a brother in the University Christian Fellowship, E.V. Odankwa. He it was who stood by me as a lawyer when I was on trial from early 2001 until I was finally acquitted in 2016. He was ably supported as junior counsel during most of the High Court trial by our former student, Roland Agbanuto, of blessed memory, who had a distinguished career as a lawyer in the military and in private practice. In an interview for a UAC scholarship on 22nd December 1959, I was asked what I wanted to be in future. I boldly announced, without hesitation, that I was going to be a lawyer and subsequently a judge. Of course, with parents who ignited in us their children from a young age the zeal for reading books in the quest for knowledge, and who spared no effort and resource towards our education, ambitions like that should not surprise. My siblings and I were blessed with such parents. Our mother, who had been a pupil teacher, was also our home teacher. In my specific case, my mother also bore the brunt of my being asthmatic from about age 4. She was often with me in hospital. Forever etched in my memory is my mother lying on the floor at night beside my hospital bed during some of those episodes. I can't, however, leave out the story of 17th July 1959, when I was scheduled to take the common entrance examination. A dawn attack of asthma threatened to disrupt the plan. My mother was in Kolebu Hospital about to deliver a newborn baby. It was my father who took me to his friend Dr. H.S. Bannerman's clinic at Mamprobi. After I obtained relief from treatment there, I insisted that I was well enough to go for the common entrance examination. Incidentally, the baby girl born on the 17th July 1949 also became a lawyer, my sister Do. By God's grace, asthma did not derail my educational progress. Not even when during the second term of my first year in Fansivim, Headmaster Bartels invited my father to the school for a discussion about my health and proposed that I go home for the rest of the term and start Form 1 again from the next academic year, which was that year's 1960, to start from October. Thank God I defied the adults. Parental steering towards law as a career was sealed by the close relationship between my parents and my uncle, Justice Apalu, my mother's big brother, whom I have to hold responsible for the answer I gave at the UAC interview, especially the part about becoming a judge, which I'm not able to fulfill. From when he returned to Ghana in the early 1950s, after qualifying as a barrister in England and throughout his career, ending up as a Chief Justice in Kenya after having been Chief Justice in Ghana, he was very much the role model, not only for me but for all my other siblings. He was a model of legal erudition and wisdom, as well as judicial comportment, and had our attention from our childhood. His wife, Auntie Georgie, was very much a part of our attachment to our uncle, and she has remained a constant source of encouragement to this day. When I returned from Oxford to Legon to teach, I was soon thrust into part-time practice of law because of the state the country was in and in my quest to contribute to a better Ghana. As junior counsel to Joe Rindolph, the preeminent legal practitioner
of his generation, I was involved in cases such as a habeas corpus application for the release of some 259 prisoners in various prisons around the country, Republic versus Director of Prisons, ex parte Ango Dagomba was the name of that case, and an application seeking the release of Mr. William Oforiatta Pawili from custody, both cases during the Champong regime. Incidentally, I had become close to Pawili from the Legon student days, when he came from time to time to speak to us at the University Christian Fellowship. A few times after his talk, Pawili himself would stroll with me from the meeting place above the bookshop to my room in Legon Hall. My roommate then was his nephew, Duke Dankwa. I remember Pawili once encouraging us to go and watch the film 10 Commandments, which was then showing at the Orion Cinema, and giving us money for the purpose. And we did go to watch the film, we didn't just spend it. I was also junior counsel to Joe Reindorf, together with Professor Akil Akpasoya and Dr. Kwesi Boche, in representing Captain Kojo Tsikata before a military tribunal at Burma Hall in 1975. Joe Reindorf was undoubtedly the lawyer from whom I learned the most in legal practice. His advocacy was formidable and eloquent, a joy to behold. Ironically, we were on opposite sides in the well-known case of Amoakutufo and Attorney General, which was about whether Chief Justice Apalu had to undergo vetting before Parliament to maintain his position upon the coming into force of the 1979 Constitution. Joe was then serving as Attorney General. The trial of Flight Lieutenant Rawlings after the May 15, 1979 uprising obviously thrust me into the national spotlight, irreversibly, I may say. It was a time of great agitation in the nation. A line of Rawlings' statement to his investigators, "Leave my men alone," which was quoted in the opening prosecution statement by the Director of Public Prosecutions, G.E.K. Akins, captured the imagination of the nation, appearing on the front page of the Daily Graphic. It showed a readiness to take responsibility as a leader that endeared him to many. I was led in that defense by the then president of the Ghana Bar Association, Mr. Bosman, as Betty mentioned. A number of other reputable lawyers, such as Emil Short, were also involved as counsel for the co-accused. And as we know, that trial ended with Rawlings being sprung out on the morning of 4th June 1979. A few days before 4th June, on Saturday, 1st June, I was going to the Air Force Mess in Burma Camp for the wedding reception of my classmate, Kwamna Anaman. Driving from Legon, I had a problem with my car just about when I reached the roundabout at 37 Hospital. I decided to park the car at a convenient location and get a taxi to the Air Force Mess. On arrival, I took out a note to pay the taxi driver, who then was having difficulty finding change. Across walks a young man, obviously a soldier, but not in uniform, who must have recognized me from my being at Burma Hall that week for the Rawlings trial. He asks the driver how much the fare is, pays the driver, then as the taxi leaves, he turns to me and confidently says, "Don't worry, your man will be out soon." The calm assurance of that young soldier in essentially telling me about an upcoming coup d'etat is quite unforgettable. Ghana has come a long way since those heady days. The Fourth Republic has provided the longest period of stable constitutional democratic order for the country. This is something and guard jealously, not take for granted. The legal profession, and in particular the judiciary, have important roles to play in sustaining this order. So we must examine ourselves honestly and speak frankly if we are to deserve the confidence of the society. I found it sad during the election petition following the December 2020 presidential election that the expression "unanimous FC" became the name of our Supreme Court. The challenge to the declaration of results formally announced on 8 June 2020 by the chairperson of the Electoral Commission required a fair and just adjudication. It was not in dispute that the figures of the outcome of the election that were announced by the chairperson of the Electoral Commission were corrected in a press release by the public relations officer of the Electoral Commission. Subsequently, the figures that were presented in response to the petition by the Electoral Commission were also different from what the chairperson had announced. The constitutionally designated returning officer, the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, even though she had deposed to an affidavit verifying the answer of the Electoral Commission and was supposed to testify, did not testify to present the authoritative final figures, much less explain the ever-changing figures from the Commission. To this day, therefore, the country has no definitive accounting for the 2020 presidential election. In the face of evidence of a failure even to be in attendance at the process in the collation center at the EC head office, the declaration of results that she made was even more problematic. Unanimous FC was the verdict of the people on the proceedings in the Supreme Court, which shielded the returning officer from accounting to the people of Ghana. The negative reaction of ordinary people to the appearance of judges to participate in the swearing-in of the new president on 7 January 2025 was an unfortunate reflection of the people's attitude to the unanimous FC. I may also say that from the point of view of President Mahama, whose election petition was dismissed by the unanimous FC, vindication came comprehensively in December 2024. What he could not have done with a hung parliament after the 2020 election, he now has a chance to do decisively with a supermajority in parliament. This vindication, however, comes with a heavy weight of responsibility and expectation, which I believe the president is conscious of. Let me recall, sadly again, that in December 2020, the people of the Santro Kofi, Akpafu, Likpe, and Lolobi South traditional areas, by an announcement on the evening of 6 December 2020, were prevented from voting in the Hohwe constituency they had previously voted in under a valid constitutional instrument. Yet a winner was declared of the election in that constituency, and he served in parliament in a period when the citizens of Ghana in the South traditional areas had no representation in parliament. That was an undermining of the very fabric of the Republic of Ghana, in addition to being a violation of the fundamental human right to vote of those disenfranchised citizens. Professor Margaret Kweku and other petitioners first sought from the High Court in Ho remedies for the human rights violation. The High Court in Ho granted an interim order of interlocutory injunction. The then Attorney General ran to the Supreme Court and had the court pronounce that since one of the remedies being sought was the invalidation of the results of a parliamentary election, the procedure of an election petition in the High Court was the only procedure to be used to bring the matter to court. The Supreme Court cited some of its earlier decisions in cases involving J.H. Mensah and Baba Jamal, among others. The interim order of interlocutory injunction lapsed. The petitioners then filed an election petition and went through a process of trial, where again, the Electoral Commission chose not to testify to explain their conduct. In July 2024, the High Court decided that it did not have jurisdiction over the matter. Following an appeal, the Court of Appeal recently quashed the decision of the High Court, but now stated a case for the determination of the Supreme Court. Judicial remedy for the disenfranchisement in December 2020 of Ghanaians in the South traditional areas is still pending. It cannot be said that the subsequent creation of a Gwan district and a Gwan constituency are sufficient to remedy the injustice to the people of Sao. For one thing, the mere denomination of a district and a constituency does not provide the development resources that are the legitimate aspiration of the people. For the period, they lacked representation in Parliament, and a share of the resources that could have been available through a member of Parliament, I dare say they are owed reparation. The historic injustice of the declaration by the EC of the election of a member of Parliament for a constituency to which they belong but were denied a vote in awaits judicial resolution. Please remember that the EC itself has admitted that it would have been illegal to have asked the voters in those areas to vote in the Boem constituency in December 2020. Yet, that is what the constitutional instrument which the EC has claimed in its defense to the election petition to be the applicable instrument. That is what that instrument would have required. There is an unsettling judicial contradiction which I must also point out. While the Supreme Court in respect of Sao insisted that an election petition in the High Court was the only way to invalidate an election petition, when it came to an action initiated in the Supreme Court to invalidate the result of a parliamentary election in Asin North, the Supreme Court dismissed an objection to its jurisdiction to invalidate the parliamentary election that was based on its own previous decisions, went ahead to grant initially an interlocutory injunction preventing the elected member of Parliament, Honorable Jachi Kwesen, from being in Parliament. Remember, this was the time the e-levy was being pushed through. And eventually delivered a final decision invalidating the Asin North parliamentary election. The resulting by-election, however, saw Honorable Jachi Kwesen win again with an even bigger margin. Despite all the machinery of government being massed up against him, new roads suddenly being constructed in the area, the president, vice president, and the whole machinery of the party in government moving in to campaign against him, he maintained this remarkable victory streak in December 2024. During the period when the interlocutory injunction prevented him from being in Parliament, the people of Asin North were deprived of representation in Parliament at a time when important national issues such as the e-levy were under consideration. Honorable Jachi Kwesen, who also faced an obviously politically motivated criminal trial from 2022, was fortunately acquitted in April 2025 on all charges upon a submission of no case. And he now serves our nation not only as MP for Asin North, but also as the Deputy Minister for Foreign Affairs. I must also speak about my own experience of being tried and imprisoned, as these two provide lessons about the misuse of both executive and judicial powers. Upon an application by my lawyer, EVO, the Supreme Court, by a 5-4 majority, declared unconstitutional both the so-called fast-track High Court, before which I was arraigned, and my having been summoned to the court in the name of the president. I think I may be one of the only people, I'm sure I'm the only person since Republican Ghana who has been summoned to a court in the name of the president. And that was despite the fact that the Constitution requires the independence of the judiciary. Now, after that 5-4 decision, as Betty pointed out, President Kufuor immediately took steps to appoint 2 new judges to the Supreme Court for the express purpose of enabling Chief Justice Weredu, who was one of the minority in the 5-4 decision, to empanel those 2 new members of the Supreme Court as part of the review panel. The then Attorney General, later President Nana Akufo-Addo, held a press conference after the Supreme Court decision, condemning the judges in the majority for what he called a perverse decision. According to plan, the review ended up overturning the earlier decision by a 6-5 majority. Police were sent on the Sunday after the first decision of the Supreme Court to the church where I worship to arrest me. I had always made myself available to the police. The only reason for that particular event, immediately following the Supreme Court decision in my favor, was to show that even that court decision did not matter to the powers that be. Later that same week, new charges were brought in a normal high court against me. These were again dismissed on the basis that they were unconstitutional, being in breach of the clear constitutional provision against criminal legislation being used retroactively. Once the president got the review panel he wanted, and the Supreme Court now went his way, I was arraigned before a fast-track high court again. And on June 18, 2008, which was not a day set for judgment in the case, and whilst there was pending in the Supreme Court, as again Betty mentioned, a ruling as to whether the IFC had immunity from being subpoenaed as a witness for the defense, the trial judge, who had previously decided to await the decision of the Supreme Court, now announced that the day of judgment has come. She disregarded the fact that my lawyer had written to notify the court he had to travel out of the jurisdiction. He said to me, "You are a lawyer yourself," unquote. I pointed out that I was being represented by counsel throughout the trial, and I did not even have the brief for the case, so I could not conduct my defense myself. The person who came to court with me that morning, the judge required that we be in court as early as 8 a.m. that day. And so I had to pick him up. So that person was my lifelong friend, more like an older brother, John Henry Mate Newman, President Mills' chief of staff. So I picked up Mate from his office to go to court, and at the end, I had to give him my car keys to drive the car home. There was no question that the judge was determined to send me to prison at all costs that day, urged on by the then Attorney General, Joe Gatti, who had not appeared in court for about a year and a half, since the judge had been adjourning proceedings to await the appeal in respect of the issue of this IFC being subpoenaed. He was in court that day, however, with his full team, about 5 of them, for no other purpose than to have me convicted and sent to prison. The transcript of the proceedings that day makes interesting reading. It was published in the Legon Observer at the time. I encourage lawyers and law students and members of the public in general to obtain that transcript and read it for themselves. The value of legality and justice is something that governments, especially those who claim to be committed to the rule of law and democracy, must recognize. Otherwise, they create distrust for the very constitutional and legal order that is their claim to authority. They become no different from the gang of robbers that Professor Hart wanted to differentiate a legal system from. We lawyers in particular, judges most especially, must be in the vanguard of the respect for legality and justice. On my first Sunday in prison, I attended a church service. A pastor came from Asamankesi, by name Jones Owusu-Ejei. Exodus 50:20 was one of his 2 texts for the sermon. Joseph saying to his brothers, "You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good." On the 10th anniversary of my imprisonment, my wife and I joined Pastor Jones and other colleagues who had organized a medical mission to the Nsom prison to provide free medical care, including surgeries, to inmates of the prison as well as prison officers. A prisoner came to me. He reminded me that he was the one who had come to ask if I had medication to help another prisoner who had a bad asthmatic attack. I had given him some medication, which he told me had saved the life of the other prisoner. He then told me also that the other prisoner had eventually come out of prison and was outside the country at the time, and always recalled with gratitude how the medication from me had saved his life. The prisoner speaking to me then added his own observation that it would have been unlikely, unfortunately, that the other prisoner could have been taken out of the prison to receive urgent medical care. I had a better chance to be taken out, so it was okay that I gave away my medication. Last December, a gentleman left a message for me at my mother's house, not far from here, asking me to call him. When we spoke, he said he had been at the Nsawam prison with me and that he had asked me for legal help with his case. I had introduced him to a young lawyer who had visited me in prison. The lawyer helped him without charge. After getting out of prison, he had gone abroad to pursue studies, and on returning to Ghana in December, had tried to get in touch with the lawyer to express his appreciation, only to learn, sadly, that the lawyer had passed. The gentleman has not only earned his doctorate degree studying abroad, but is now part of a high-powered advanced intelligence research group based at a university in Japan. God Meant It for Good was the title of my reflection on the first anniversary of my imprisonment. It was published in the Daily Graphic. On the 5th anniversary, my title was 5 Years On, His Mercies Never Fail. That was 2013 during the election petition. And on the 10th anniversary, I Overflow with Praise was my title. All these reflections were published in the Daily Graphic. By God's grace, I have never harbored any grudge or felt any bitterness against any of those who were involved in all that happened to me during the Kufuor regime. However, I do not wish such a desecration of justice as I experienced on anyone, no matter their political affiliation. I do not want to hear of the police going to a church on Sunday to arrest anyone when that person has gone to the police or to court whenever required to do so. In fact, political affiliation, settling political or personal scores, or wanting to show where power lies should not be the reason for criminal prosecution. Not even for a criminal investigation. In the end, on 30th November 2016, I was acquitted on appeal. Earlier, the Supreme Court had ruled that the IFC does not have the immunity that the High Court judge and the Court of Appeal had claimed it had. A judgment that was delivered by the inimitable Justice William Atuguba. At the Court of Appeal, the immunity provisions of the statute of the International Monetary Fund had been ascribed to the IFC, and the Supreme Court overturned that. In the midst of what I went through during this whole period, my wife Esther in particular stood with me with total dedication and in such amazing ways, which is why I'm still here and alive. The Free Tsatsu campaign, which she and close friends, notably Kwesi Pratt and Trichi Opoku, launched for justice in my case, generated public awareness and mobilized incredible support across the nation and internationally. On the morning of Sunday, 16th November 2008, Esther came to the Nsawam prison to bring me food, as she did daily during my imprisonment. She found out that I had been rushed to the Nsawam hospital after suffering a bad asthmatic attack during the night. She rushed to the hospital and saw the bad condition I was in. She was the one who, with the permission of the director of the prison, arranged an ambulance that came from Koforidua to take me to the 37 military hospital. A close friend and brother, Alhaji Yusuf Ibrahim, had arranged for me to be attended to there. I was sent to the intensive care unit. Eventually that evening, the doctors at 37 decided that I needed to be moved to the National Cardiothoracic Center at Kolibu. They had spoken to the director, Dr. Frimpong Boating, who agreed to have me in cardio. By the time I got there, in an ambulance from 37, Dr. Sribo, the deputy director, whom Yusuf had again contacted, was waiting at the intensive care unit to attend to me with the urgency my situation required. That week was a life and death struggle. The goodness of God and His grace were manifested so powerfully to me in that time, as indeed throughout my life. They were manifested in the love and care of my wife, the compassion of the director at the Nsohom prison, the professionalism and attentiveness of the medical personnel at each hospital, the love and care also of my mother, siblings, children, other family members, and friends who helped me through the ordeal that I have only given you a glimpse of. I could not have survived to be here today if I did not have all that love and support. On this wonderful occasion, allow me to invite my wife Esther to join me here. And she will actually deliver the conclusion to my remarks.
I deliver it in song. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I am found. Was blind, but now I see. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, He has already come. 'Tis grace has brought Him safe thus far, and I tell you, grace will lead Him home. People, the Lord has promised good to him. His word, His hope secures. He will His shield and pardon be, as long as life endures. He will my grace and pardon be, as long as this life endures. Tsatsu, He
lips and tune.
We give God all the glory. We give him all the praise.
Thank you, Esther, and thank you, Dr. John Osomazu on keyboard. To God be the glory. Thank you, and God bless you all.
May I just pretend 1 second that I didn't hear the applause? Let's do it for me. Respectfully would like to once again invite Her Excellency here onto the stage, our honoree and his lovely wife, and then also the Chairman of the Council of State, respectfully, please join us on the stage, and Mrs. Betty Moldedrisu, as well as Professor Ernest Kofi Abuchi for a final photograph. Respectfully would like to also have the children of Mr. Tsatsu Tsikata join us here on the stage as well, just before the departure of Her Excellency. Can we have the Ebusian Penying of MOBA join us, please? Professor Alabi, thank you. Can we also have Kwame and Kofi? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And now, good people of Ghana, we shall all remain standing for the national anthem of the Republic of Ghana. Thank you. very big round of applause. And it's at this time that we say a very big thank you to Her Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana, for gracing this occasion as guest of honor. Of course, when the proverbial cock crows tomorrow morning, it will be Mr. Tsatsu Tsikata and his whole family and associates saying thank you to you, Your Excellency, for making today that beautiful moment of history. Shall we all remain standing as Her Excellency departs? Thank you. Please do take your seats. Very shortly, we'll be inviting our friends from the Infantibim Old Boys Association in the final moments of this honorific lecture and award, so they can do a special presentation. In the meantime, would like to say a massive thank you to GNPC, NPA, and Honorable Sam George, as well as Mr. Chris Wedimensa, who's the CEO of NPRA, as well as Bell Aqua, for supporting this event. Respectfully, shall we remain seated for a minute or two? Also would like to say a very big thank you to the students of the Ghana School of Law, the University of Ghana School of Law, the Mount Crest Law Faculty, and students from Presec Legon. Thank you very much. Also to the African Women Lawyers Association, of which Mrs. Betty Mould, who delivered the lecture as a founder, we say thank you. And of course, friends from the Oxbridge Club, all old students of Oxford University and Cambridge University who are here in Ghana, we're very grateful to all of you. At this time, I would like to invite the Ebusiapenying of MOBA. Respectfully, shall we all take our seats for a moment before we wrap things up? Thank you very much. Respectfully, shall we all take our seats? Thank you. Can we have all MOBAs who are present here join us? Thank you very much. Respectfully, can we have all old boys of Infantibim School? An amazing moment of pride for every old boy of Infantibim School, especially as we're ready to celebrate the 150th anniversary of this great tradition. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to hand over to the Ebusiapenying of MOBA, Ebusiapenying Moses Baden. Please go ahead. He's here.
Oh, he's here. Okay. To our senior boy, Mr. Tsatsu Tsikata, I think when the Honorable Betsy Modidrisu said integrity, leadership, excellence, vision, I thought she was going to end up with Infantibim. So let me add an Infantibim.
Mr. Tsatsu Tsikata, you're a legend, and our lives have intersected so many times. When you entered Enfansbom, you were 9. I was 11 and a half. When you entered law school, you were 18. I think I was 20 when I entered law school. And yes, my favorite subject was jurisprudence, and you taught me that. I remember that every time I came for your class, I forgot to take notes because I was so engrossed in the lecture, I didn't see how that 2 hours passed. And every Enfansbom boy who entered the law faculty was told, first of all, that it's very difficult to get first class. There are only few people who got first class. And the youngest student and the first person to get first class who went to Enfansbom school. So if you're from Enfansbom, and you enter the law faculty, you're not allowed to fail. I didn't fail, but I didn't get the first class. But at least I became a TA, and I understand I taught jurisprudence, which you taught me. Now, it is fitting that the UPSA has found it fitting to recognize your lifetime work. And you can see at short notice all the MOBA people from different years here. We've all gathered. I'm sure if it was a weekend, we'll have 1,000 people here to come and honor you and to pay homage and to show you respect, because you are one of those role models that all Enfansbom boys for generations look up to. You may not be aware, but people look up to you because they want to be great lawyers. They read your cases like we did, and they know that you stand for something bigger than just material needs and so on. You stand for excellence, for being meticulous, for hitting a high mark, and for encouraging other people to do better. For that and many more, on this 150th year in which the great school Enfansbom was formed, we're glad at MOBA to present you with this plaque. Now, MOBA has a permanent executive secretary. Where is he? Adibaya Kaba, the vice president of MOBA, David Abe, the National Executive Council, our very senior boys. I can see this is the most, the 24-hour Meza is here with us. And the MOBA Council, we give you this token of our appreciation, and I'm going to read it out to you. It says, on the occasion of your 50th anniversary of your enrollment at the Ghana Bar, MOBA warmly congratulates you on this remarkable milestone. Your illustrious career as a lawyer, rooted in Kwabotre education, has inspired many globally. MOBA is proud to honor you for embodying excellence, mentorship, legacy, and the power of the Kwabotre tradition. We wish you continued strength, wisdom, and good health. And is signed by me, Moses Kwesi Baden Jr., the 5th Ebushapeno MOBA. On the occasion of the 150th anniversary of Enfansbom, we're also proud to present you with the Enfansbom anniversary cloth, which is in here. And to crown it all, we are going to sing for you the first verse of the school hymn. So please come closer. Who's going to be there? Who's going to die? I don't know why you're laughing.
Okay. For the saints, 1, 2. For the saints who from their labors rest, who day by faith before the world confess thy name, O Jesus, be forever blessed. Hallelujah, hallelujah. gates of pearl streams in the countless woods, singing to Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Samuel. Thank you.
We're very grateful to MOBA Global for doing this, and we say congratulations to them ahead of the full celebration of the 150th anniversary later this year. At this time, we'll have the celebrants stand and take a few key photographs. Would first of all like to invite all friends from Oxbridge, which is the old boys and girls from Oxford University and Cambridge University. Ladies and gentlemen, we're taking a few photographs here. We'll do Oxbridge first. All friends from the Oxbridge Club, please join the honoree on the stage. Immediately after that, we'll have friends